Hey guys, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Andre Seegers, and we're joined today by Derek Binder to talk about his impressions of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Gates to Infinity. And with that, let's get this thing started. So Derek, you've been playing Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Gates to Infinity the last few days or so. Now I know, we're not doing a full review, just because of how all this timing worked with PAX East happening at, the wrong time for all these games coming out. But I wanted to talk with you about your early impressions and thoughts of the game. Even if it's not quite a full review, at least get some of your thoughts out there. Because you are, as I've said before, GameXplain's Pokemon Master. Now, this was actually your first Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game, though, right?
Yes, I've not actually played any other series before. It just never really caught my interest. I mean, yeah, it's kind of cool that you could play as a Pokemon, but the style of the game, just never really hooked me before. It's like, I never really thought, I gotta try this out. No.
But then when I came along and was like, hey Derek, you gotta try this out, you're like, okay.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Hey, you go toss a game in front of me, I'll try it out.
Yeah. So what are your, well, first off, how much time have you put into the game so far?
5-6 hours.
5 to 6 hours? Okay, so that's more than enough to get a pretty good feel for most games.
Yeah.
So what are your early thoughts so far? Are you having fun yet? Are you doing better than I did in the demo for the Game & Watch?
Well, that wasn't that hard, but my first impressions from it, after I stopped after my first little play session with it, I'm like, this is so boring, and it has gotten more exciting since that part. No, not exciting per se. A little bit more interesting, but it's very much, this is even more so than the Pokemon main games. This is a game designed for kids, and that has sort of colored my impressions of it, which is why I'm sort of glad I'm not going to be doing a review, because what I'm taking away immediately from this is if you love these games, you'll love this one. It's, from what I can tell, from what I've heard about the previous ones, it's not that different. A couple of improvements here and there, I suppose, but otherwise this does nothing that pulls me into it. I mean, it's fun for what it is, but as of right now, I'm just kind of bored with it.
You said something interesting there, that you said it seems like it's designed for kids. Because when I was playing it, I mean, clearly, if you watch the Game Watch, I had no idea what I was doing. And I'm a grown ass man playing this Mystery Dungeon game, and and I actually found that I actually found two things about it. One, there seemed to be more to it than I was able to grasp right away. And two, there seemed to be a lot of dialogue, or a lot of written dialogue.
There is a lot of dialogue, but the style of dialogue, this is a Saturday morning kids cartoon.
Even compared to the standard Pokemon games.
Oh yeah,
right.
Like the standard Pokemon games has some things to it, but this is, let's work together and achieve our dreams and. Oh God,
that's true. It did seem a little bit cheesy when
Oh, very cheesy. Although I did find it kind of funny that the big task, the big first task you're doing is getting to the getting real estate.
Right.
It's all about the purchase of real estate and then improving that real estate. But I haven't got a sense for what the overall plot will be. I mean, like the other games, you're a human who got turned into a Pokemon, and it's an alternate world of Pokemon as best as I can tell, because there are no humans in this world, so I'm not quite sure how Pokemon know of the existence of humans.
Right.
But apparently Pokemon talk with each other. They have their own little social things that are very similar to humans. They build houses and all that. I'm like, okay, I'll go along with it. And apparently there's been something in this world that just makes everybody a jerk. Nobody can get along with each other. Pokemon aren't trustworthy. Most people are a jerk. But gosh darn it, this first Pokemon you just met, whoever your partner decides to be, and I ended up choosing Pikachu as my partner. He is out to make achieve his dream, and he's just going to make everybody, everybody's going to change their ways because he's just so gosh darn nice. You see what I mean? Where It's very kid friendly. Right.
Yeah. No, I totally hear that. I mean, the whole, the presentation and everything, seems even more skewed towards, or be more colorful and a bit more stylized than even the normal Pokemon games. And or rather, I mean, in that they look like they do look more cartoonish than.
Yeah, I mean the 3D models look nice, basic but nice. But then you got little like facial panels where they'll like express different emotions and whatnot.
Right.
Which is a nice little touch, but it still didn't pull me in anymore.
No. About the combat, how have you found that to be? Is it deeper than it seems at first glance? I mean, in my case, I just couldn't figure it out. I didn't realize I'd actually be facing the enemy to use my attacks.
That's happened to me on a couple occasions where I wasn't facing the enemy in quite the right direction,
right.
And fix it eventually. But it doesn't happen too often. But from what I can tell, it's just like it's very basic. Once you're facing that enemy, you're using your moves, and as long as you know like what moves are effective against what Pokemon, it's a real cinch. Now, where a lot of the strategy seems to be coming through in though is item management, because you'll get various items that will put every Pokemon on that floor to sleep, or for that floor make it so that you can't be have your status affected, that sort of thing, which adds definitely a layer of strategy to it. But it's still, battles consist of walk up to this Pokemon, be within range, hit an attack that you know will be effective,
right.
Keep hitting that attack until they're dead, and then then your health gets refilled automatically just by walking. And the only thing you have to really manage is how many you have left of different moves. But
right.
Even if you have like a specific item, that'll refill all of it, and you're good to go. Like I have had no trouble at all with this game. It's very simple.
Now you mentioned going floor to floor, and that's because the whole series, as far as I can tell, has been based on exploring these randomly generated dungeons, or caves, if you will, or no, dungeons. It's in the name.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how much of the game that you played so far is exploring dungeons versus not exploring dungeons?
I'd say 75 to 80% of the game is exploring dungeons. They do some interesting things with it, because the problem with randomly generated stuff is that each level becomes really, samey.
Right.
There's not much, and that's definitely happening here. It's a lot of very samey things as far as what you see in the worlds. Now they do try to mix it up, because you might be going into a floor of a dungeon, but you'll be like, it'll loop around, you'll come outside, and it'll be like a simple puzzle. So it does change up a little bit, but it's still not enough to really grab me. I mean, it's because it's all like one dungeon's the same as the other, as far as I can tell right now. Because one will be more deserty, but one will be more grass-like. But the essential shape of each dungeon is the exact same.
And so you're just going through attacking enemies, and you're trying to find something at the end of each one, I'm guessing?
Yes. First one, it's like you got to find this specific item, which is the one you did in the demo. Another one, you're chasing down this Pokemon who stole something from you, and that's when you get your first real boss encounter, and that's not even that different from your regular ones. Like I literally stood in front of him and just mashed an attack until he was dead.
Right.
He got my health down low, but hey, I have a health item that will put my health all the way back up to what it was before.
Yeah.
Simple.
Now you mentioned right away. I mean, you were basically bored with the game right away, but you mentioned it started getting a little bit better. Has that been like a gradual increase, or was there like a certain point that the game just got way, considerably better or noticeably better at some point, or?
Once it got out of the tutorials and sort of that opening bit, it started getting more interesting. Like once you get away from all the heavy dialogue and get into the actual gameplay, I mean, you can have fun with it. It's interesting, it's fun challenging the Pokemon and whatnot, and seeing the move. And I was sort of interested in seeing what kind of moves the Pokemon I chose would get, and how evolution would work and all that stuff. But I wish I didn't get far enough to see that. I got a few new moves and whatnot, so as far as learning moves works the same. You can still only have 4. But it got interesting enough that I was able to keep playing without being too bored. But I still wouldn't say it grabbed my attention fully. Like it's just once you got out of that tutorial phase, it just picked up a little bit.
So basically, your impression is that you don't think, for you at least, it'll continue to get better. You think it's basically topped off at your enjoyment level for it, or
it might get a little better, but I'm sorry, got fans, but I just can't get into this one. Now I will say, if you're a fan of the old ones, from what I can tell, this one is just as good. You know, you'll enjoy this one just as much. In fact, from what I can tell, before you had to take, in order to find out which Pokemon you're going to be, you had to take sort of like a personality test. Mm-hmm. And based on your answers, that's which Pokemon you would get. And as you can see with your demo, you actually got to pick which Pokemon you were this time. So that's nice for people who want to get the Pokemon they want to be.
Right. Yeah, it makes it a little bit easier instead of having to look up a chart on GameFAQs for what answers to use.
Or just go with it randomly.
So I take it you won't be playing this game on your flight to PAX?
No. Okay. I think I'm pretty much done now. There is one nifty little feature with it. There's a few actually nifty little features with it. The first big one is the Magna Gates, mm-hmm. Which uses the 3DS camera. And what you do is you go around your wherever you are looking for circular objects. And you center the camera on those circular objects. It'll register and make sure it's what it wants. Click on a button, and you'll actually get a special dungeon. You'll be playing a completely random character. It'll be a completely random difficulty based on the shape of your the circular object you decide to photograph. I went with a cup, and I got a level 5 difficulty dungeon. That one kicked my ass. I will admit. Just because I was not prepared for them to just like hit me that hard. I was going at it so basically. So it could pick up, because if the difficulty picks up like it does there, but I have a feeling with your own Pokemon that you trained, it probably won't get that much more interesting. But the Magna Gates made it interesting. Now you don't get to keep the Pokemon you get to play as in there, but you do get any items you find can be transferred over to your main game, and that's where the hook of the Magna Gates come in. You get to try out some higher level stuff or some different kind of stuff, or play as different Pokemon, and then get to give your items to your main game.
Okay.
So it's a nifty little feature. Definitely will add some replay value for those looking to just play some more.
Right.
And the other big feature, well, not big feature, but the other interesting feature is if you lose in the game, you can activate, like if one of your characters gets knocked out in the game when you're exploring a dungeon, either one, if it's your partner or yourself, you're going to get kicked out of that dungeon because you're lost, unless you have an item that will revive them. However, if you don't have an item to revive them, you can activate Street Pass. And if you pass somebody else that is playing Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, they can help revive your team and you can keep going.
That's kind of cool.
Which is a nifty little feature, except that, well, if it happens to me, I'm kind of SOL. Because one, I'm not exactly in a heavily, populated area. Two, nobody else has the game right now. I kind of have it early.
That is true. I was going to recommend PAX East, but then I realized, oh wait, no one at PAX East is going to have it yet.
Well, Saturday they are selling Luigi's Mansion and Pokemon there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So actually, maybe there you go.
Yeah. So there might be a few people, but I think I'm going to be busy with other things.
Yeah. So do you have any final thoughts on the game that we didn't talk about, or any final impressions you want to give?
If you like the previous games, you'll like this one. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a perfectly fine game. It just did not hook me.
Right.
That's the pure simple fact. The graphics are nice, if a bit samey. The story is cute, I guess, for those who like those kind of stories. It's just a bit too simplistic for me. And the music is really good. I did really enjoy the music, but Pokemon's always been sort of strong with that. But yeah, it's your perfectly average mystery dungeon game, and I don't think I'll ever pick up another one of these titles.
Yeah,
even if you give it to me.
That was basically my impression when I was playing the demo. It's just not my type of game. It didn't appeal to me at all. I'd much rather play one of the main Pokemon games than I would Mystery Dungeon. But they're not really the same type of games. It's not entirely fair to compare, but
No, that's for sure. It's just I like RPGs, but I don't know why this one just does not hook me in the same way. Just because I think it's the dungeons themselves. It's so focused on the dungeons, but the dungeons aren't interesting to me.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's my, complaint in general with, randomized content. With very few exceptions. But yeah, I mean, you get that samey feel. And I mean, at its essence, there's just no level design. It literally has no level design because it wasn't designed.
Yes, it is copy-paste design.
Yeah.
It's pure and simple. Most of the dungeons are walking through straight hallways until you get to one open area that may have something worthwhile.
Right.
And it's just, that's not for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I hear that. All right, Derek. Well, thanks for giving us your early thoughts, if not a full review on the game. And make sure to stay tuned for everyone else to GameXplain.com for tons more, not on Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, but on other things gaming related, including our PAX East coverage. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Bye.